Hi, this is Sean Longo. I'm the CEO of Outforce.ai and the host of this podcast, Growing Pains, where we generally introduce people who have been through technical growth phases and all the problems that are associated with that. There's not always good end results, but there's often growing pains. And so we share what we've been through and how we've managed to get through them in the case where we do get through them. Sometimes we don't. And today, my guest is Alicia Farricielli, who we actually just met by coincidence being on the same podcast, but at different times. I jumped in a little early. And so we decided to bring this together. And Alicia is a health and spiritual healer, but comes from a business background in residential real estate and helps people in many different ways. And a lot of it is applicable to the help that we often need as entrepreneurs, in my opinion, in getting through some of these things. It's not always just pounding through the numbers and pounding through the engineering execution and the sprints and the stand-ups. It's also figuring out how to deal with life. So Alicia, welcome to Alicia or Alicia?
Alicia. I see like Alicia
Alicia.
Keys, but I can't sing like her. Obviously, not as beautiful, look like her, but that's how people remember me. So,
Okay, well, awesome. Thanks for coming on the show. And why don't you re-describe yourself and how you work for a start?
yes. So I'm the life coach, quote unquote, but that's so overused. So I help people go from their where they want to be or where they are to where they want to be. And I use more intuitive healing modalities. And then I work a lot with inner child. So a lot of times we don't realize that our inner child is keeping us from doing multiple things, keeping us from our business growing, it's keeping us from hiring the right people, it's keeping us from like personal relationships. So all of this, I work with kind of mind, body, spirit aspect and bring all that together for my clients. I work with tons of business entrepreneurs, most of them are entrepreneurs, and they come to me for business stuff, and then we start digging into a little bit about it. Because when you start connecting your mind, body, spirit, your business starts to grow. So that's basically what I do.
Okay, okay. And so when you say inner child, are you talking about childhood trauma that is psychologically holding you back, or are you talking about something else? What does that mean?
Yeah, so childhood trauma, I like to call them wounds because trauma seems just so over, and it can be something small. So, and I always preface this, if you had any type of abuse in your life, you want to get some mental health through a licensed therapist first. So, but we all have things in our life. For instance, let's say you were growing up and your teacher always said, didn't understand why, or you always gave you bad grades on a test. And it was something you kept doing your best, doing your best. And then you just kind of thought, well, I'm just must be stupid. And
Hmm.
so we put this subconsciously into our mind. And this is just a small example, subconsciously into our mind. And then we go out about and we start these businesses. And when we get to these businesses, we come across clients who question us a certain way, like the teacher did. And they were like, oh, we just get bound down and we feel stupid. And men and women do this both. Men are typically more try to suppress the emotion of it, but it's still there. And so then we suppress all these emotions inside of us, and they start to come out, and they start creating mental, not on mental illnesses. I say or physical illnesses. So a lot of times, if you have heart conditions or you have migraines or you have certain things too, it's because you have all these emotions stuck inside of you, and a lot of those are tied into your inner child. By inner child, people are like, what are you talking about? And I said the same thing years ago. I'm like, what is the inner child thing? And that's how I
Yeah.
got down the rabbit hole of it. Your inner
Okay.
child is like your 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 8-year old self. It could be your
Okay.
smaller, but typically we work like when you can remember. So most people remember maybe they're 4 or 5 years old. So think about when your time when you were 4 or 5 years old. What did you want to be? Do you want to be Superman? Do you want to be a doctor? I want to be an actress. And so I wanted to be that until I was 12. And my parents told me that was bad. You should do this and all the multiple reasons why I should not be an actress. I'll put that way. And so then by the time I was 12, I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to do that. It's because I've been put into a box. And so a lot
Right.
of times with men, it's like you have to, I say it with men, it's like you have to be a certain macho way. You have to be a certain this and this and this. And you can only be, high expectations of being the breadwinner of the family. They want you to be doctors, lawyers, astronaut, whatever you wanted to be. But
Right.
but you really wanted to be something. Maybe you wanted to. My brother wanted to work like be the garbage truck driver. He
It's
thought it was
like
the
the
coolest
Monty
thing
Python
ever.
skit.
You
There's
know, it's like
The Monty Python skit in The Holy Grail where
yeah,
the Scottish lord is wanting him to marry someone because he's going to get all this land because of the woman he's going to marry, and the guy says, "But all I want to do is sing."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So, I mean, maybe that was you. Maybe you wanted to be a rock star, or you wanted to be a
yeah,
country or whatever. Maybe you
right,
wanted to be Superman. Who says you can't be Superman now? Maybe you
right,
can't physically fly in the capacity that Superman did on, the shows, but we put ourselves, we get put into this little box. And so we're putting this little box, everything we goes down to, and it's almost a trauma that's put upon us. Because then we're told how we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to behave, how we're supposed to act, and we're told who we are.
right.
And most of the time, that's not who we are internally.
Oh
So
yeah,
we have all these wounds go down. And so as we go through our, teenage, get into college, we go through, and then our teacher are telling us we have to pick a major. You have to pick something, and you're 18 years old. You're picking probably what your parents told you to pick or what society told you to pick. You're not, if you go to college, or
right.
you're not doing what you initially wanted to do. But if you're a theater major or you're an art major or whatever major you are, you're laughed upon because that's not what society told you. So then
Right.
we get into our adult years. We start with companies. We start working with like different businesses. We have bosses who are yelling and screaming at us, or they're not. We have bosses that we don't align with.
Hmm.
What could possibly there? That's their inner child too, because maybe they wanted to be on Broadway or wanted to be a singer or whatever, and they were told they couldn't. So now they're told they had to be macho, a man, and they have to become down on their employees. And so
Right.
it starts to trickle throughout things,
Right.
throughout that. You have a business that you can't seem to, it never seems to fund. You never see getting profit. You're always in the red. I'll let sometimes that, but you don't think you're worth, like, it goes back to money issues. Like, you typically don't think you're worth that because money's an energy that flows in and out, in and out, in and out. When you understand that, it starts to work. But if you're not told that, if your parents were you grew up in a poor environment, maybe you grew up in an environment where there was multiple money, you didn't know how to save money. You didn't know how to do your finances because your parents always did stuff for you. That
Hmm.
can cause some inner child wounds because when you get to adulthood, you're not, it's not productive and you're not living the life. So basically, your inner child is your joy. It's your creativity. It's your free spirit that we all have inside of us, but it can be wounded. And so
Right.
think about when I'll say a 3, 4 year old you're not paying attention to that. What does it do? They act out. They do anything for attention, right?
Right.
So if we're not giving that attention, then it's going to act out.
Okay.
Um, People that have relationships, think about your relationships. If they're continuously dating the same person over, men, woman, whatever, they're dating that same person over and over again and they're not getting anywhere. They're like, why do I keep attracting the same person? Well, maybe it's something that's taught into your inner child. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I there's some coaching I've been doing, and it's been really good because, so like you said, as a kid, sometimes you're told, hey, don't act that way,
Yep.
and that holds you back. So you're wondering whether you're allowed to express certain emotions.
Yeah.
And then if you don't let that emotion through, like you say, it just gets bottled up, it shows up in a back pain or whatever. And
Yeah.
then or then you see it in other people and you go, you can't act that way, and then it gets sort of all tied up and messy. um One of the best expressions I ever heard was, joy is the mother of all emotions,
Yep.
and she won't yeah, she won't come in unless all of her children are equally invited.
Mm.
In other words, you can feel unless you can feel anger, pain, happiness, all the emotions, the spectrum,
Yeah.
and really feel those, then you won't feel the joy. So I find that in a lot of cases, especially in business, we're trying to, you know, maintain the impression that everything's going well with our investors, maintain the impression everything's going well with our employees, maintain those impressions. And if you're not vulnerable and actually allowing these things to flow through, then you get stuck in them, and then
Yep.
it becomes a bigger hole. As one of the guys, Ben Horowitz, said in his famous book on the hard thing about hard things is, if you're gonna eat a shit sandwich, don't nibble. Like, eat it all and be fully exposed about it. And it's
Yeah.
true. So the same thing with emotions. If you're gonna you have that fear of not satisfying the needs of others in their investment of time, in the case of employees, or investors in case of cash, then you're not going to be true to the expression of what the business is actually going through.
Yeah. And you can take it too. If you have a hard investor or hard something coming down on you and you're doing everything you can, maybe you can also take the inner child to another extreme. Look at that person's inner child. What is their inner child? Like, well, maybe they're scared, they have a scarcity mindset and they're afraid of losing their money. Or maybe
Right.
that comes from that. So you can have this compassion and empathy for your investors and have better conversations. So we're
Right.
coming across, and that goes kind of into the intuitive portion too, of like tapping intuitively to know whatever they're feeling in the ways. But you can have it leads to so much healing, and so you can't have. I mean, people do run a successful business, but maybe they're not happy. So you can either you're either going to have to work and hustle and have the successful business and be unhappy and sacrifice, or you're going to be happy and free flow. It's like there's no in between with people. There's an in between. You can have both.
Right.
And so we limit
Right.
ourselves on that.
But I can't imagine being in a board meeting and somebody giving you hard time about numbers, and you saying, "Oh, tell me about your inner child and
Oh yeah, you don't
what's
want to
really
do
going
that.
on." Yeah.
But you can in the back of the mind knowing that it's probably their inner child is hurting. So maybe their inner child, they grew up in a very scarcity environment as a child. Well, then
Mhm.
what do you say going forward? You confirm this and make them feel safe and secure, because that's all
Mhm.
they're wanting to do is feel safe. The
Gotcha.
money is money. They're tying money into safety. And so when you recognize that, you can know how to have the conversations around that. No, don't, I wouldn't suggest going to the board meeting and be like, oh, well, your inner child is doing this and this and this. You will probably get kicked out and you might offend someone. So, but it's knowing this
Oh,
like consciously in the back of your mind that this could be
okay.
something that's happening.
Okay. And I mean, you don't want an overnight expert in any of this business either, right? So, I mean, how many years have you been doing this, and what have you seen as a pattern for entrepreneurs in what's driving? Because like a lot of that inner child is, if it's suppressed, it's actually a good driver to get us across, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to fail. I am going to go beat that crap, right? And
Yeah.
you do it in the business. Yes, you may fail in life in some aspects of your life, but you satisfied what you needed to do to get to where you needed to be. What do you think? How's that for you in your practice come through?
Yeah. Quick note. So when I don't look at failures as failures. Everything is a learning opportunity.
Sure.
And when you start to switch that, because that's what business is. It's a failure. I didn't get to this, but my goal was. What did you get? You never fail because you learned something. If you didn't learn anything, that's how you fail. But you've learned something. You learned even if it's not what you want.
Okay.
Working inner
Let me, let
child.
me, let me
Yeah.
just stop you
Yeah.
right there for a second, because I mean, pivot is the new word for fail, right? I mean, and,
Yeah.
and fail, yeah, it doesn't mean fail is not that bad a word. It's actually, like you said,
Yeah.
it's a learning experience if you take it. It's
Yeah.
everything, every challenge in life is that learning experience. It's you
Yeah.
get to have those learning experiences. But a business failure is, unequivocally a business
Yeah.
failure. So having that fear of failure can drive you in a positive way
Yeah.
to get across, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. So going back to your question, I've had
yeah.
multiple learning lessons slash failures. I don't like the word failure because it makes me feel bad. So I
Okay,
changed that into learning opportunities. So people are
sure.
like, yeah, I failed. And that's great. But most people I know, they're like fail and they feel worthless and not good about
Right. They feel
themselves.
shame as a it's
Shame
the
and guilt and all that.
yes.
So
That's different, right?
yeah. So
Okay.
flipping that. So I've had a lot of learning opportunities. I went from opening multiple digital marketing companies when I didn't even know what I was doing. I was 20
Right.
years old and I was like, I'm going to do this. And they did not succeed in the way that they needed to succeed, but I learned a lesson. I learned
Mm-hmm.
how to do it. Then
Mm-hmm.
I had an event planning business that I had for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
I got burnt out
Mm-hmm.
on the train because I didn't heal my inner child. I had had to please that. I'm going to prove myself to the world. I'm going to prove I can do this and prove. I wasn't proving anything to myself. I was proving it to everyone else.
Sure.
You're
Most
never
of
going
us
to
are
get
doing
their
that most of the time.
expectations because they're not you.
Yeah.
So I did that, went into real estate, kind of the same thing too. So I've had like over 20 years of experience, multiple businesses. They were successful to monetize certain standards, but my life quality balance was not there on any of them. So to me, that was a learning lesson. So I started working with, I decided I want to be a business coach. And I was like, well, haven't had like multi-million dollar businesses, so I can't do that. Then I was like, wait, that's a limiting belief that I put on myself because
Totally.
I know how to launch a business and get it started and get people in the direction. So people are coming to me and they're like, I'm like, well, do you think you can do this? Well, I don't know. Like, why are we even working on a marketing plan, a business plan, all this stuff, invest all this stuff? Why are we working on that? If your mindset is not in the position that you even think you can do this, because you're going to fail.
Hmm.
Because if you don't think you're going to do it, you're not going to be able to do it.
Right.
So that's where the mindset started going in. And so I kind of went on this and I was like, oh, I have some more work I needed to do on myself. This is a few years ago on myself. And so I started digging into the inner child stuff because that was the missing piece to where it was. I was like, there's just something.
Okay.
I heard the inner child. I was like, what is this term? So I started digging in. I was like, that's what's keeping me from feeling the self-worth to be able to launch millions and millions of dollars of business
Hmm.
because I didn't think I could do it.
Okay. And how's it going?
I'm on my way. I'm working my way there. I know I can do it now. I know
Okay.
it's a long process out, but it's a work in progress with
A
it.
work in
So
progress.
yeah, but I
Okay.
know I can do it now, and I see the results from that.
Okay. Good.
Yeah,
Good. And so do you think that like, do you boil it down? Like, I mean, it's kind of what do you call it? Confirmation bias, right? You had the inner child issue that broke up. You broke that open. You're now on your way. Are you seeing everybody's got this inner child issue, or is it just some people?
90% of people that come to me with something, goes back to the inner child, and when they start dealing with that portion of it, then the process starts to break free.
And
I'd
do you
say
think that
90%. Yeah,
our inner child issue and limiting beliefs synonymous?
they can be. Yeah, I mean, you can have a limit. Most of the time, yes. You can have limiting beliefs that you placed on yourself as an adult because something that happened to you. Um,
Right.
but then it probably is tied into something that's still inner child related. So I would say, yeah, a good portion of it is definitely inner child related.
Okay. Okay. And so you suggested at the beginning of the podcast that if you have if you're if these are traumatic issues,
Yeah,
that you should go see a professional.
a
Right.
professional licensed therapist.
Right.
Yeah,
And if maybe we don't know, right? But you
can
block that. Sometimes you don't even know if
yeah.
you've had the trauma until you see somebody. So what if you go to somebody and then you realize, oh my God, I've had trauma. Like, I mean, I guess you just go straight to the next therapist, right? I mean, how do you
You
select them?
could. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when I work with people, if they find out there's something by major trauma, I'm talking a sexual abuse, a physical abuse, and extreme emotional abuse.
Okay.
We've all been emotionally abused in our life and stuff. That's what I'm talking about. Something
Right.
that you need to go through and work through that particular abuse,
Right.
not what is making you feel, but that particular abuse and heal from that. So that's what
Right.
I'm saying with that. Um, People that come in, we'll start speaking, we'll start talking about kind of what your goals and stuff too. And a lot of times they're like, I'm saying, what's keeping you from getting there? Well, I don't feel like I can do this. Why can't you do this? And we'll start digging back deeper into something. When's the first time that you thought about this? When's the first time you felt this way? Because we go into our mind and we want to get down into the way that we feel on all of this. And it's,
You want to get the
yeah,
feelings? We're not into that.
we're going to tap into feelings because you can't get to where you want to be in your business without tapping into those feelings and feeling good about your business. I'm not saying you can't be a billionaire and not tap your business, but in order to be joyful and happy, because that's what people's goals are. Your goals are to build a business. Why? To make yourself feel good. But what if that business went away? How are you going to feel?
Right.
You
Right.
still want to feel happy and joyful about it because
Yeah.
businesses come and they go. Things happen, economy. I mean, it's things, we see businesses crashing now that we never thought would. Not to scare and put scarcity in anybody's mindset, but that
Right.
happens. So we have to heal that. We have to start healing ourselves so when we get to that point. But what if you are a billionaire? What if you had the opportunity, you could be a trillionaire, but you're keeping yourself down because you're not healing that. You're not tapping into your emotions.
Hmm.
Emotions
Hmm.
are simply nothing but feelings we have. That doesn't make them right or wrong or make us any less of a person. It's just a natural feeling. We get angry, we get sad, we get lonely, we get happy, we get joyful, we get bored. I mean, all these resentment, all
Yeah.
this are natural feelings that we have, but we
Right.
ignore them, but they don't go away.
Or we attach a meaning to them
Attach a meaning to them.
that
Right.
holds on to them further, right?
Yes. But they're just a feeling. It doesn't mean it's just the way it made you feel. Typically, feelings come from something in your past that has made you feel that way. Your first time you felt that. So if we
Mhm.
acknowledge that and we own our feelings and say, you know what, I'm angry about this, but it doesn't mean that I'm always going to be angry about this, or doesn't mean that I'm right or they're wrong or anything else. It just means I'm angry right now and I allow myself to be angry, or I'm sad right now, or I feel
Right.
lonely right now. I just allow myself to feel those feelings and know that tomorrow or in 2 hours, I'm doesn't mean I'm gonna feel that way, because our emotions go up and down. I'm not talking on
True.
a bipolar level, I'm talking about things
Yeah, yeah,
happen and they trigger us. And so if we
yeah.
keep those emotions, if we keep them locked in, it causes explosions.
Right.
Think about that. When you keep keeping angry, anger, 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 and then somebody says something and you just snap. What if you didn't have to snap? What if you just allowed yourself to feel that and release it and those emotions go through you?
Mhm.
You'll be such a different person.
So, but in certain situations, we're socialized to hold those feelings back,
Yeah.
right? So let's say you get into a meeting and somebody's done something absolutely asinine and they deserve, well, no one deserves to be punished, but
Yeah.
you got to tell like it is. And you're angry because everyone else is going to be
Yeah.
implicated. Like you can't get you're waiting for a marketing initiative to go and it's affecting the whole business because it's not getting going yet. What's going on? I'm angry. So how would you address a situation like that? Do I get angry about the situation and just go, oh, my anger is going to go away, or
Oh.
do you how do you play that out?
So walking into the meeting, you're angry. You can be complete front. I'm angry about this situation and I need time to process this anger before I make a decision. We don't ever want to make decisions based out of anger. We want to make decisions based out of a calm state of mind. But if you
Okay,
don't deal with that anger, you're never going to get to that calm state of mind. You might think you are, but you're not. Body is
right,
not in that calm state of mind.
fair enough.
So we don't have to
Okay,
walk into meetings and explode on people. We could walk into meetings and be, this situation is made me feel very angry right now about this, and I need time to process this. Let's reschedule this meeting. That was how I would handle it personally.
okay, okay.
Everybody's different on that. Sometimes going through and if like with breath work, go through and just breathe, but you're still processing that. You're like, I'm angry, and breathing out the anger, releasing it from your body, because
Right.
emotions are emotions, but they become trapped if they keep they're inside our body and trapped in there. That's where the issues happen. That's why you see
Okay.
so many heart issues. You see so much high blood pressure, so much stress. Stress happens to us all day long. We have to be able to relieve that stress.
Stress, would you agree stress is just fear?
Yeah, it
Okay.
is. It's anxiety. If you're thinking about, we have to say, staying in the present moment has been such a game changer, because if we're thinking about the past, that causes depression. We're
Mhm.
thinking about the future. We don't even know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know what's going to happen in 2 seconds from now,
Right.
like 100%. So if we're thinking about that, that's nothing but fear and stress and anxiety.
Well, you have a choice of how you think about that. That's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah, but you stay in the present moment. But staying in the present moment doesn't mean that you're not preparing for the future, but you're still in the present moment. We're not sitting here going and enjoying looking outside and saying, this is all the beautiful, magical things that we have going on in our life right now. We're not looking at that, even in society. We are looking at what's going to happen tomorrow that we don't know what's going to happen. So the fear starts to build up, and
Right.
that starts to build up. But we don't stay in the present joy. Or we
Right.
think about, well, because this happened to me in the past. Then that's where that
Yeah.
all
It's
the
gonna happen
sadness
again
starts to
and again
come.
and again. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But if we stay in the present moment, even if it's not a happy present moment,
right.
we can still deal with the emotions in that present moment. We can't deal with emotions in the future already. They're not
Okay,
here yet.
so, and I'm just going through the logic of this. I had
Yeah.
the meeting. I got angry. I said,
Yeah.
I can't. The meeting's over. I'm too angry to make any
Yeah.
sensible decision. I'm going to punish people or hurt people if
Yeah.
I carry on with where I'm at right now. I take a breath. I settle down. Come back to the meeting. what if my next emotion is joy and I make it, it's totally like emotions are coming and going. What am I
Yeah.
like? How do you not make a decision in an emotional state?
So I'm going to talk about the scale of emotions. And
Okay.
like, if everybody wants to go into the woo woo portion of this, you can look up Abraham Hicks. She has this emotional scale. Made more sense
Okay.
to me. We can't be from on the depressed and we can't go to joy all of a sudden. So we're going
Yeah.
up these emotions.
Okay.
So if we are anger, I forget the next emotion. I'm just gonna say it's disappointment or something.
Sure.
We sit in the disappointment and we understand why we're disappointed. So maybe you go into there as a disappointment, into that meeting as disappointment.
Okay.
So it's not,
Okay.
you don't have to wait till you're completely happy and joyful and something
Right.
great happens. You don't want to go into an anger when you're going to make an emotional decision.
Okay.
So you're processing the emotions to where you're coming back to your logic. Or if you intuitively, you're able to look into your intuitive side. You're able to feel and see the intuitive side to you. If you want to combine the two, but going back to your logical standpoint. If we're making
Yeah.
most decisions are made emotionally.
Sure.
They
They're
are.
justified with logic. I
And
totally
then they
get it. I'm in
justify them with
sales.
logic.
We
Well,
we
they
all know that
deserve
in
that, or
sales.
they then they're back in fear. So they're
Yeah.
afraid something's future is going to happen. So they fire somebody
Right.
instead of sitting down with kindness and compassion, which I'm huge on. If kindness and compassion, you can still be disappointed. You can still be angry with kindness and compassion. Most people can't
Hmm.
go into a meeting when they're raging and they're angry with kindness and
Sure.
compassion. So how are you
Yeah.
going to get this back to kindness and compassion? You can fire somebody with kindness and compassion. You can have
Hmm.
nothing to do with, excuse me, semi kindness and compassion. You
Fair enough.
can do anything, kindness and compassion. How do I get back to this kindness and compassion?
And how do you do that? Let me ask you, how would
Yeah.
you do that from an anger position? Like the pro course,
Yeah.
going from that meeting, you're really pissed off. You leave the meeting, you settle down,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
tell me some quick methods to get to there. And then
Yeah.
where do you come back to in the kindness, compassion? How do you lead that conversation?
First of all, what can I control over the situation? What can I control? Can I
Right.
control the actions of other people? No.
Yeah.
I can control the actions of myself. That's the
Right.
first step. So look at what's controllable in the situation.
Right.
Can I control how the marketing is going to be placed into my new ad campaign? Say the ad campaign went bad. Yes, I can control that. So I'm going to
Hmm.
focus on how I can control that portion, not in a controlling manner, but I can control that. Then I'm going to look at myself. What area did I play in this? Did I play anything? And get really honest with yourself and
Wow.
not victimize. Don't victimize yourself. What
Right.
area did I play in this? Okay. What area did Joe, the marketing guy, just play in
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he was not responsible. He didn't submit the ad or whatever in time. And so it didn't get published and a whole marketing campaign just busted, whatever. Okay.
Right.
What role did I play in that? I didn't follow up with him. So parse the blame's on me.
Right.
And we say, well, we shouldn't have to follow up with it. But you also didn't do your job, do the portion to make sure, because if it's your job to make sure that gets published, your
Right.
company, then everything is your job.
Right. Which
So
is the case.
what's going on with Joe, the marketing guy? Well, I'm gonna have a conversation with Joe and say, what's going on with you?
Hmm.
Maybe his he had a sick baby or he's getting divorced, something drastic's happened. He's got a sick mom. Maybe that's on his mind. So I'm gonna
Okay,
show
so
compassion
there's
to that.
very, very different intention in that question, because when
Yeah.
I heard what's going on with you, it's like that could be what the F is going on with you. Why didn't you get this done? But you're saying, tell me what's going on in your life.
Yes, what's going on? Because we don't make business, we think we make business decisions. We make them off our personal, what's going on personally. There's no correlation, there's no dividing in that. People think it's dividing. I'm at work or I'm at home. No, your mind is still subconsciously going from personal
Sure.
stuff into your business and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back. It's coming with love and compassion. Well, maybe Joe has did this 3 times and I can't, this is affecting my company. So I'm going to sit down with Joe and say, hey, I'm sorry, but this is not working out for us.
Hmm.
It's not a person, like personally, you're a great person, whatever. And just have that compassionate conversation with them.
Right. Right.
And that diffuses all the stuff. So you have let the anger go through you
Hmm.
through logically thinking some stuff through, but you're able to,
Hmm.
you're compacting it and coming down. So now what do you feel? You may feel a little sadness or disappointment in Joe, but you're not as angry with him.
Right.
And so your nervous system is calmed down. And if you need to take it the next step, you could do a box breathing thing to calm your nervous system down. Anytime with any emotion, breathing is such a huge thing because we're stressed and really, get up this, we're breathing like
Yeah.
this. Stop and taking deep breaths. And
So
it's going to calm your mind down.
I'm familiar with box breathing. If you want to share what you meant
Yeah.
by that, it's a great tip.
So look at your breathing as a box. So we're going to breathe in for 4. You're going to hold for 4, exhale for 4. And I'm not doing these four
Yeah.
counts. And then
Yeah.
you're going to wait for 4. And doing that box breathing will start to slow your nervous system down and you're able to think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
4, and then to 6, then to 8, or just 4 is
You can
okay?
do whatever. I like the 4, 4, 4, 4 as a box. If you're looking into, if you're looking into really slowing and calming yourself down, you want to exhale slowly. You can
Mm,
inhale and then you want to exhale slowly. If you're looking for energy, then you want to breathe in and then it out.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a
Okay.
couple of little breathing techniques, but breath is our heart and soul. That's what keeps us alive. So
Right. Right. And what do you when you go into these, when you see an entrepreneur, is there something, is there a modality that you see consistently across their mindset and their I would say their limiting beliefs? Just what is the issue with entrepreneurs versus anybody else? Because I know entrepreneurs we are intuitive. We wouldn't go into the business if we actually knew what we were going to get into, right?
it's like we're the crazy people, but we're actually the crazy smart ones. No.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
crazy stupid. So,
Yeah.
what do you see? Because we do act intuitively,
Yeah.
sometimes without thinking, um, and that can get us into trouble too. So, what do you see across the sort of spectrum of entrepreneurs that is consistent?
I see entrepreneurs trying to control every single thing in their business,
Mm,
everything in their life, and not releasing some of that control
okay,
because a lot of it's, but we'll go back to inner child, but yeah, it goes back to that. But we have to control everything because it's our baby. It's our life. It's no employee that you hire is going to love your baby as much as you are.
sure,
Nobody
yeah,
loves your baby, your child as much as you do.
yeah,
And
that's
so
true,
we go to the extreme. I've seen so many entrepreneurs go to the extreme. We have to do everything. We don't lose control. This is
right,
why you see businesses that go through employees all the time.
yeah,
They're trying to control that instead of
right,
hiring right and hiring intuitively and knowing this is the right person for the job and releasing some of that control out. We hire and then we control that person.
right,
Why
right,
would we hire them and control them? I see that all the time going on. It's a
yeah,
control issue. And so it goes back, then it goes back into the future issue. I'm afraid this is going to happen. Go back to the present moment
right.
and live in the present moment.
And so, what do you do with people who are controllers?
We start working on their nervous system first because a lot of times that's what ties into it. But we get down to what do you think? What's your fear? What's going to happen? Why are you so attached to this business? Because if we're controlling it, we're as a attachment. We have to let that
Mhm.
attachment go and just surrender that control into. If you have to believe in a divine power, some people don't. Just figure out why you're what you can get to release some of this control from this because it's not healthy for you anyway. And so
Right.
once we figure out maybe there's something that happened, like we go back into why are you feel? Did you grow up in a controlling environment? Did you lose something in your life?
Or were you in a total out of control environment?
It's a total out of control environment where you had to keep that control in yourself.
Right.
How is this making you feel? It doesn't make control typically doesn't make anyone feel. They'll say that yeah, it makes me feel good and in control.
Right.
There's a difference in being in control of your life than trying to control the outcome and situations and other people. You
Right.
want to be in control of yourself, your emotion, control of your emotions and yourself and your reactions and responses and stuff. But we can't control anything else. So
Right.
we have to release that control. And it's a process. It's not a, oh, I'm going to surrender and be control. No, you have to slowly baby step that out. Because if you do that, your nervous system's going to be like, and I see this all the time, especially business owners. I call them the hamster wheel. They're just going, 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 not getting any traction. And they're doing the
Mhm.
same things over and over again. It's like, why are you doing that? Well, they feel like they're in control, but they're not. And so you have to
Gotcha.
take a step back. I tell people take vacations, take the time
Well,
off, do
good
stuff
luck.
for yourself, do it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because that I tell you, you're talking about taking vacations when I get the busiest. because I was
Right.
release that control from whatever's going on in my business, and things just start to come in.
Right.
It's a quantum physics thing. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a quantum physics thing, but
Yeah. I'll just leave it at that.
it's an interesting coincidence. So the so giving up control. There's a great books, by the way, on who to
Yeah.
hire. There's one called Who, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um, for me, actually, what helped me, especially through the changes in COVID, was stoicism.
Hmm.
So you mentioned, what are you afraid of? Well, you sort of have to think through and feel the
Yeah.
worst possible outcome. And it's true stoicism. It's you're going to die. Like you're going into a battle and you're going to
Yeah.
die. Well, then what?
I
What do
don't
you
care.
have control over?
Yeah.
You don't have any control over anything. Like so.
Yeah.
Okay, so feel that death, feel the loss, feel the emotion
Yeah.
of actually losing physical contact with the world and people in it. And then if you can accept that and you've lived through it, okay, now I got nothing to fear. I can go out there and go to battle, which is really cool. It really helped me with a lot of things because I was afraid of what was going to happen with COVID and all these things.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the worst that can happen here? Yeah, okay, could go bankrupt, could anything can happen. And once you got through that, that really just helped take it to another level.
Yeah. Well, when you start to realize that anything that's taken away from you can come back. Anything you have can be taken away at any moment. Our life, everything you have can be taken away, or anything that you've gained, and if you lose it, you can come back to it. I mean, look at all the billionaires, I'm naming a bunch of, but that have lost everything. Most people who are multimillionaires have lost something at one time,
Sure.
and they lost a business or whatever, and they built it back up. And so they're not afraid to lose. And say the more money you make, the more you're less afraid to lose it, because you know that you can build that, you have that confidence to build back up. So once you realize that, and it's like you release and let go of things that are tying to you, your confidence. And coming back into what are you confident? Are you confident for who you are? Are you confident for what everybody else tells you are, or your accomplishments? That was a huge thing I had to heal from, was I tied everything I did into my accomplishments. And if I had a bad month or had a bad thing, then I felt worthless.
Right.
A lot of business entrepreneurs are that way.
Sure. Well, you're
But
trying,
now,
yeah, please your parents.
yeah, it's the pleasing, the ego portion of you is going, you have to do that. And most of the time people are afraid of is not losing everything. They're afraid of what other people think. They're afraid of what is everybody else going to think about me.
For
It's not the
sure.
actual suffering you have to go through being homeless or anything else. It's the what are other people going to think about me?
Right.
And that's a really good question to really ask yourself, and be really honest with yourself. Am I scared because I'm going to have to suffer physically or emotion, or am I afraid of what other people are going to think about me?
Well, generally both, because when people think shitty of you, then you're gonna think you're gonna suffer emotionally for a
Yeah,
while, and then you'll get over it. You won't
for a
care.
while, yeah. But I'm saying physically, am I really worried about being on the streets, or am I really worried about what are people going to think about me being a homeless person?
Right.
Put that perspective. What are your thoughts and feelings? What are
Great.
people's feeling that? Yeah.
Great.
Mine used to be what other people think about me. Now it's like, well, if I'm on the streets, then I'm just going to have to be happy that I have somewhere to go on the streets. I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to get to that point in yourself.
Well, and so let's talk about what you have versus what you could lose. So a lot of
Yeah.
people work heavily on gratitude. How
Yeah.
does that fit into practice? And talk a bit about it. Or does it?
So gratitude is great. I do gratitude every single time. I tell clients to do gratitude, because you have to have a grateful heart. Because we have so many things. If you're having a bad day, the first thing you need to do is to find what's the most thing you're grateful for, because everybody has something. You could have lost every single thing, but you have your life, or you have your health, or your eyes, or something. Some part of your body actually functions. If it didn't function, then you'd be dead.
Right.
Your heart's working, you're breathing. Be
Right.
grateful for that.
Yeah.
Because some people don't have that. They're dead. Um, So start with the things like that, and then really feel into that gratitude, because we could be like, I'm grateful for this and this and this and this, with this poor attitude. Or we can come across and be like, really filling in, I'm really grateful for that. And when you start doing that, you're going to find joy in things, and the little things are not going to matter so much. The marketing guy didn't turn the ad in. I'm not saying if it doesn't, that's not going to matter so much, because you're just, I'm grateful I have a business still, and I'm able to come to this business today. We're going to get
Right.
through this. and we're going
Yeah,
to
is
get through.
that,
Yeah.
some people would say that's Pollyannic, like it's just ignoring.
No, you're not ignoring it because you're still going to have to deal with it. It doesn't go away, but you're going to be able to deal with it with a grateful heart and more joy. And you're going to get a more accomplished.
I'm glad I'm firing John because I'm gonna have a better marketing person now, kind of thing.
Yes. Yes. And we always want to keep keep the positive. I mean, people say all the time, well, I can't get somewhere. If you don't have to believe in manifestation or anything, but if you keep putting out, but quantum physics, why you keep putting out negative energy, you're going to keep getting it back. If you're
Right.
putting out positive stuff and believing in yourself and believing that you're going to be to this, I believe I'm going to be on the stage with Oprah one day. That's what I'm letting myself believe. That's my belief system now.
Okay.
I'm never going to get on the stage with Oprah if I don't ever believe I can do it. If I keep
No.
putting out the negativity,
Right.
that's just an example. So people, you think about all your people who have accomplished huge things. They wouldn't have did it if they didn't think they could do it. If they put out that negative energy all the time.
Right.
That's what gratitude brings you back. It's to that positive, the positiveness and positive energy. And you don't have to sit and
Okay.
do it and tell people or whatever. You can sit in your bedroom, in a closet, whatever, and just gratitude it out. But the first thing that comes out of your mind in the morning, at night, think of 3 things you're grateful for in the morning, 3 things you're grateful for at night. It's going to change your mind. It'll change your life. And if people want their lives to be changed, that's a definite thing to do. Have a grateful heart.
I totally ascribe to that. I think it's the power of compound interest on that. It's
Yeah.
not like if you do it once and then you forget all about it, it doesn't work. But if you compound and compound, it builds up a totally different energy state in your body and therefore in your
Yeah.
attitude. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. So okay, gratitude's in the morning. Breathe. You talk about breath work. Is that
Yeah.
something you practice a lot, or is that something you should? Is
I
that
practice.
so?
Yeah.
That's it. Actually, the inner child work sounds like more psychological work
Yes.
or digging inside,
Dig it. Yeah.
and then there's mindset in gratitude.
Yeah.
Talk about other tools that you use and what we could use ourselves.
Yeah. So I'm a huge proponent of journaling. And I say
Uh-huh.
it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, like journal. If you are not comfortable journaling, get a shredder, right? Get it. That's just get a shredder, shred it up, tear it up, burn it. There's a big thing and you can burn it and you're burning away all the emotions that go behind it, all that stuff. Or you can keep it. I keep mine. If you don't feel safe, a lot of people don't feel safe. They're afraid their wives or their children or their friends or whatever, somebody's going to find it and read it. But you want to create a safe space for it. I'm a
And
big,
handwritten has to be, or can it be typed?
doesn't have to be good typed.
Okay.
I
Okay.
handwrite mine, but I go into how am I feeling today? How am I feeling on the scale of 1 to, I'm feeling a little disappointed today. And I write about that. Why do I feel disappointment? Now I feel disappointment. I got got the emotion out. What am I going to do to change that? Because I'm not going to sit in that emotion. That's where people think emotions, you have to sit in it. No, you don't have to sit in it until you release it. And so once I've sat in that emotion and released it, I'm like, okay, now I'm disappointed. This is why I'm disappointed, but this is how I'm going to make it better today. And this is why I'm grateful for what I have today. That changes my whole perception. I'm huge on meditation. People think they can't meditate. I have ADHD diagnosed, whatever. I didn't take no prescription medications for it anymore because I meditate and I do other things to calm my mind down. But
Right.
sitting in meditation, if you just put music on and just you can even let your thoughts flow, but don't judge them and don't be like, oh, I got to do this and stop what you're doing. Let the thoughts flow and to come back. Breath work is where it comes in with meditation, is continuously relying on your breath and pay attention to your breath and doing
Right.
that. That's the
Yeah.
first step on that. And so those are the tools that I use. Of course, physical activity, you want to get your body moving. If you're running a business and you are not doing physical activity, start today.
Yeah.
Take a walk in the morning, whatever you got to do, 10, 20 jumping jacks. Get your blood flowing, your brain moving. Because we're in our brains all day long as entrepreneurs. And if
Yeah.
we're not getting that flowing, we're not as productive. So
100%.
that's what I do. That's my morning.
Okay. So how journaling, like how much you writing and how long does it
Oh, a
take?
page. I mean, I spend like 5-10 minutes. If I need to go in a little deeper on something, then I will. But I will put on sometimes a meditation in the middle of it. And so I can meditate through and like get what I'm internally feeling. I do a lot of energy work on the side that I won't go into all that
Yeah,
on this podcast. But I mean, I'll spend just a page. It can be like 2 paragraphs. You can write 2
yeah.
sentences. If you don't know
Okay.
what to write, just put, I don't really know what to write or how I'm feeling today. This is what I'm doing. And by the time you keep going, you're going to have your thoughts and feelings are going to come out subconsciously.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what is the purpose of the journaling? You're saying it's to just feel the emotion and then work it out?
Feel the emotion and add some gratitude and to work it out. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we all every day we still have things that happen in our lives every day that we're holding on to. So I'm releasing everything from the day. And so you can
Okay.
do it at night. I do mine in the morning. So I'm releasing everything before I start my day
Okay.
on it.
So you mentioned were there 3 questions? You say, how am I feeling? What am I going to do about it? And what am I grateful for? Is that the sort of
Yeah, that's typically what I do. Yeah. How am I feeling today? That's how I'll start. Unless I have something I already know and I'll just do the whole page up. But I always at least put 3 gratitudes in there. And if I can't write, I'm like today's just not a good journaling day or whatever. Especially if I'm
right,
just in one of those people get, moods. I will finish the whole page out in gratitude. And by the time I'm finished, I'm like, wow, looking back, I'm like, I have a lot to be grateful for.
right.
Despite whatever. Like I have a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah, no. And the thing about gratitude is that unless you feel grateful for what you got, you're never going to get any more.
Right. I mean, you
And
look at it.
don't do it because of that. But literally, if you're not grateful for what you're getting, then don't expect anything more because you can't even
Yeah.
appreciate what you got.
Right. I mean, why would we want to look at this big, massive universe out here? And it's look at it as a child. If you have an ungrateful child and you give them a piece of candy, and they're like, "I don't like that. I want that." What are you going to do? Not
Give
going
them
to give them
more.
another piece of candy. Well,
Right,
they can't even handle the piece of candy you gave them, or they
right,
do it and they're sick off of it, or they throw it away, or they do something. Give them if you give them $5 and they just go blow it. You're going to give them $5 more. Are you gonna give them $1,000? No, they can't even take care of the $5 they have. So why should that you give them 1,000? So we're up here asking for all these miraculous things, but we don't even appreciate and take care of what we have.
right, right.
It's such a simple concept that people don't really think about.
No, it is. It is. And I want to go back to that kid that you just took the candy away from who wasn't grateful. Have you created an inner child issue with that person?
Yes, no, they're still a child. No, but
All
yeah,
all that kid wanted was attention, actually, more than the candy, right?
yeah. A lot of times, and that's what gets back to like we think we want all this materialistic stuff. And don't get me wrong, I love my house, I love my car, I love my travel, I love a very luxurious, I love luxury lifestyle. But I know that's not what makes me happy. The things I
Mm,
love, what makes me happy is myself, my self-worth. And so if all these things go away, and I've had things go away, and I was not happy because
mhm.
I was tied to the material things. But now I'm tied to my own happiness and self-worth. That if those things go away, they can be replaced. It's nothing but an energy or nothing but a moment. There's multiple houses and multiple cars out there. There's abundance of things out there.
Right,
We have to run our businesses like that. We have to run our businesses from abundance mindset. We can't run them from scarcity. We
right.
can't get too much into competitions. You can go down. I mean, I have competitors, couldn't really tell you who they are. My competitors are probably my mentors. That's the way
Sure.
I'll look at it. So if we have such a competitive mindset where we have to always get our share of things, get our share of things, you're going to get your share of things, but there's so much more out there that you're not getting.
Well, the root of the word competition is actually the integration and the learning from the other person.
Yeah.
Right,
But we're not doing that. We're trying to take their share and everybody else's share.
right. Zero sum gaming.
Yeah. Which is funny because it's not really how it works, but people don't realize that.
Well, this has been great, Alicia. Thank you very much for all the insights and all the great tips on how to deal with our emotional trauma and our childhood trauma or childhood experiences that are holding us back, and tips for going through the gratitude, the journaling, meditation, and exercise. Phenomenal.
So, well, thank you so
Thank you very
much.
thanks for being on the show, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of comments on it. Thanks, and have a good
Reach out to me.
yeah.